Today we have the culminating experience presentation of our student Matt Stubbs, who has been part of the institute for since 2016. Correct, Matt? I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, 2016.
And this is somebody that has been very close to all of the faculty artists in this room, and it's a pleasure to see you presenting today and moving on to your next adventure in Los Angeles with the Monk Institute. The title of your presentation is The Taboo of a Woman Tragedy. As a panelist, we have Maestro George Garzon, and I was my personal advisor.
Thank you everybody for being here. Especially thank you to my committee, Marco Pignataro and George Garzone. Thank you both for being here, as well as the plethora of global jazz faculty. Thank you all for your time. The title of my presentation is A Woman's Tragedy, or as Marco put it before, The Taboo of a Woman's Tragedy. These are my musical attempts to heal, educate, and activate. There was a time in my life not so long ago where my views were nowhere near as progressive as they are today. Was it the mainstream media that radicalized me, or my liberal education at the Berklee College of Music? No, it was listening to my girlfriend speak about the countless injustices delivered to both herself, the women in her family, and the women in her community. A lot of you are going to have your own stories for some of these topics today. Domestic abuse, postpartum depression, stillbirths, miscarriages, and trans murder. What's shocking is that nearly everybody has been touched by these sensitive topics. I'm not an expert on any of them, and neither will you by the end of this presentation. They were chosen because they live in the shadows. And with the prevalence of these issues in our society today, there's a huge discrepancy with research, healthcare availability, and judicial action. My only goal when starting this project was to create empathetic music that women befallen to these tragedies could listen to and not feel so alone in this world. It was only through my research I was able to find that the reason these so-called acts of God keep happening is due to a patriarchal government apathy. Now, this is my call to action. It's not enough for us to just comfort the victims. We must address the systematic failures of our government to curb more unnecessary loss. Please take what you learned today and incite meaningful dialogue amongst your friends and family. The first topic today will be domestic abuse. The victims of domestic abuse really do suffer in silence, often for years, right under the nose of neighbors, coworkers, and other immediate family. According to a study by the Bureau of Justice Statistics, only about half of all violent domestic crime victims actually call the police after the event occurs. With that in consideration, any statistics may only be providing a glimpse at a larger problem, making the data in my first composition all the more horrifying. Postpartum, also known as PPD, is a depression induced by the sudden drop in hormone levels after giving birth. 70 to 80% of new mothers will experience, at a minimum, the baby blues, which is a depression that lasts 3 to 5 days, while 1 in 9 new mothers will experience clinical postpartum depression. Andrea Yates experienced PPD after the birth of her 4th son. Following a period of heavy medication, her and her husband wanted to have another child, ignoring a doctor's warning that doing so would surely guarantee future psychotic depression. Shortly after giving birth to their fifth child, Andrea hallucinated that Satan was telling her to kill her 5 children. She drowned them one after another in a bathtub, thinking she was saving them from hell. Andrea pled not guilty due to insanity, but was sentenced life in prison. The injustice dealt to the postpartum depressed is not only a failure of the Justice Department, but also of our healthcare system as a whole. These are just a couple of questions I've been asking myself, and I'd like you to consider as well. Why are we not investing in preventative medicine to anticipate the hormonal drop of new mothers? Why does care stop the day a mother leaves a hospital and doesn't carry on through the coming months with weekly checkups and psychiatric availability? Especially in the case of Andrea Yates, why didn't any medical staff request mental health updates following her birth, considering her well-documented history of postpartum depression, as well as a history of self-harm, especially after the birth of their 4th son, Luke? This is my piece dedicated to postpartum depression. It is a trance piece. I wrote everything from the perspective of a new mother experiencing postpartum depression, this kind of like fog of depression and anxiety over their baby, and relentlessly intrusive thoughts of both suicide and infanticide. So we've discussed how access to proper medical care after birth is a huge contributing factor to postpartum depression. And that theme will hold into this next topic of miscarriages and stillbirths remaining unaddressed due to underfunded research and low access to necessary medical care during pregnancies. For those unfamiliar with this terminology, a miscarriage is defined as a fetus dying before the 20th week of pregnancy and a stillbirth occurring after the 20th week. So there are, on average, 71 stillbirths a day in the United States, with 4 million occurring every year worldwide. Half of all stillbirths occur at full term, and 2/3 are completely unexplained. With this information, we can estimate that every year there are 1.7 million women who expect to be holding their baby in under a week. And those same women will end up delivering their child without a pulse, and they will be given no reason why. And that's just, that's a lot more pain and suffering in the world than I had accounted for. This is a piece in dedication to the words written by Jillian Brockle, describing her account of a stillbirth in the age of targeted advertisements. Transphobia is often defended by a cisgendered confusion of transgender lifestyle choices. The fact that we can't wrap our heads around the idea of transgenderism somehow validates people's hatred or vindictive othering. What I've learned from transgender friends in my community is that cisgendered people like me will never understand what it is like to be transgender. Our understanding of who they are is not prerequisite to treating another human being with kindness, respect, and decency. Our country's tolerance of these transphobic ideologies has proven to result in trans homicides. 3,000 trans people have been killed over the past decade. 62% of those murders were sex workers. In the United States, a shocking 85% were people of color, and worldwide, 65% of trans murders were inflicted on migrants. Now, I'd like to take this time to get into a seriously disgusting practice that was detailed in my research, known as the LGBTQ+ panic defense, also informally known as the gay panic defenses and the trans panic defenses. This legally permissible defense is used to excuse acts of violence used on the LGBTQ+ community. The defendants claim that upon learning the party's sexual/gender identity, it caused a nervous breakdown with violent acts of self-defense in fear of being molested. The panic defense has only been banned in 11 states, and in about 1/3 of the cases where the LGBTQ+ panic defense is used, charges were reduced for their defendants. I wrote this piece for a woman named Dee Pearson. She was murdered on Christmas Eve of 2012 by a man who had paid to have sex with her. After discovering that Dee Dee had male genitalia, her killer chased her for several blocks before shooting her dead in an alley. News reports at the time repeatedly dead-named Dee Dee, and her family quickly abandoned her, forgiving the killer days after the murder happened and expressing relief that this was all over. The kind of nonchalant demeanor presented by the media at the time, as well as her own family, speaks to how little trans lives are valued. My composition attempts to capture that real tragedy and the resulting macabre insensitivity through juxtaposed melodies. In conclusion, women gain no advantage from the invisibility of these topics. Only through active criticism of our government's failing systems can we achieve these progressive policy changes. Our society needs to help women who are the victims of these circumstances rather than punish them. And the first step to justice is made through education. I'd like to end on a lighter note with this final composition. This is a piece that I wrote for my mother. The love and respect that we have for women in our lives is what helps us provide context for these really dark subjects. I wanted to capture the feeling of coming home after a long time away, happy to see some things just how you left them, and melancholy over other things changed. thank you everybody for listening.
Thank you for that, Matt. Powerful presentation.
Beautiful.
Congratulations.
Thank you so
Wow.
much.
Beautiful.
You know, I don't know what to say to you, man. That was completely heavy. I don't think I've ever experienced anything like that, but I think you justified everything I believed in you. Just seeing this final project, you know, I had all the faith that you could do this, and you did. Man, I just see, you know, I saw your whole future the first time I met you. I'm just giving you positivity. I really don't have any questions other than, you know, the scope of your mind and how you see things and how you perceive things. I feel you're one of the greatest students I've ever had, and I've had a lot of them. So I just want to give you positive feedback about everything. It was tremendous. Tremendous. That's all I can say. You're welcome, man. And you know what to do? Take my head off of that Christmas tree and put yours up there. Okay.
I'll consider.
All right, Marco, thanks.
Okay, George. Thanks for being here.
I'd like to second that. I'd like to second that with George. Yes, Stubbs. You have been inspired and inspiring to be around, man, to work with for these years. And right from the first moments I heard you, I felt what you were playing. And I've seen and heard your development also through this period, these last 4 years. And yeah, man, inspiring me and all the folks around you. And I felt your call to action in your whole presentation. You know, it was like you arrived at that place of awareness, and you really reacted to it so beautiful, man. I love the way at the end with the family and your mom and the whole thing from growing up, like you arrived to that moment, you know, the development and beautiful playing also, bass clarinet and the way you put things together. Really a calm, beautiful feeling and it was like a soundtrack also. It had that effect on me, you know. It was a soundtrack that, like, your subject and descriptions and everything, and with the baby and that one movement, you know, it had multi dimensions in your presentation. That was really special, man. Bless you, man, and thank you
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joe. Thank you.
Yeah, Matt, I agree with Joe. I mean, this has been, you know, I've been listening to your music, you know, this project for a year and a year, I would say now, and I always commented how, you know, the way you wrote this music sounds very cinematic, and I completely get the feeling that Joe talks about it, really like a soundtrack. And can you talk a little bit about this? You know, your choice of instrumentation, doing all clarinet, and this is not the usual music you write, so it's very specific for this project. You want to expand a little bit of what drove your ideas?
Absolutely. Clarinet quartets have always been very, very personal to me. Like in high school, my first kind of foray into arranging was by listening to like pop songs like Amy Winehouse something, and arranging it for a clarinet quartet. And that's really where I got a lot of my joy and a lot of analysis of how the parts of an ensemble work together. And this was kind of like a callback to that childhood joy of just playing a quartet, as well as the nuance in the subjects that I was representing. My experience with remote recording is that unless everybody's in the same room together, it's hard to get everybody on the same page for these representations, you know. And I was the only person I could trust myself to imbue those emotions into every part. So that's really where it came from.
So would have been different if your orchestration ideas if you would not have been in the COVID restrictions?
Yeah. My original concept for this project was going to be like a trio format, maybe a quartet with just bass drums and two horns. That way that I could pontificate on those melodies more authentically with improvisation. Another thing that wasn't very featured in my project was improvisation, because I felt like improvising over these pieces was like commenting on a comment. Like the pieces themselves were how I was feeling with these subjects, and to improvise on it would only muddle down the message, in my opinion. But in the future, I might keep it as a quartet, no rhythm section orchestration, but more likely I'd arrange this again for a live ensemble and couple these messages with that music in a live format to spread awareness to both high schools or middle schools, to get people started, show them the path to composing music with a purpose of activism.
I also understand this year you specifically studied composition, correct?
Yep, with Edmar Colon. He actually told me, it was funny, I thought that I had a unique approach to composition, this kind of layering with mainly just counterpoint, not so much with homorhythmic harmony. And he actually turned me on to this composer, Philip Glass, who I hadn't really checked out that much, but he actually arranged the melody to Candyman, which was a horror movie from, I believe, the 80s or the early 90s. And the melody to that tune, I had analyzed and I had listened to hundreds of times when I was a kid, and it really started this compositional approach. So it was nice to get a call back from somebody who was as educated in the film scoring business to point me in that direction. Now I'm listening to like a whole bunch of Philip Glass, and yeah, taking compositional courses with Edmar was really profound in this sense for writing this music.
Any other comment from the committee or the faculty? Question for Matt?
I could say just a few words, Marco.
Please.
That's okay.
Yes.
Matt, the music and the message were, I'm very impressed and moved, and I just wanted to congratulate you on this serious subject matter and raising awareness of it, and as always, really phenomenal clarinet playing and bass clarinet playing, and it was good to hear your music. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Alan. Thank you.
I would like to congratulate Matt, and thank you so much for raising awareness over these issues. They really touched me deep as well. It's so crazy. Yesterday, I was planning a whole music video about postnatal depression. In my mind, it hit hard as soon as I joined this Zoom call. And thank you so much for trying to raise awareness. So important. I'm very impressed, but I was already impressed when you first came into an office hour, if you remember, in the fall semester, telling me about your themes, and I was already moved, and really definitely felt like I had the opportunity to get to know you a little bit better, and to get to know the real Stubbs and the real personality and kindness that's in your heart. And thank you for expressing that through your music, because the music was so beautiful. And yeah, only great things to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Irene.
Can I go?
Bruno, yes, go ahead.
Yes. Hi, Matt. Yeah, I'm truly happy for you. This is an amazing project, and it's been great to be your teacher in many different situations over the past, I don't know, 4 years or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the subject matter can never ever be told enough, and it's just stunning the tragedy of it, and many of these problems are fixable with a good healthcare system. So
Yeah.
that's the other tragedy. That, yeah.
Yeah.
So please keep telling that story. Your music is really beautiful, and as I was listening, I was thinking that really working with the counterpoint that you're doing, you're really creating your voice that way. To me, I can hear Stubbs in there, and the uniqueness of it. So that's like and now that I know that you did know that in high school, it also ties together with that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I didn't really know that, but that really seems to be like a vehicle for you to really express your personality in music. More so at this point than thinking vertical harmony and
Yeah.
in that way. So that's it was really really beautiful music. How are you planning to show this to more people, or getting this message out? Do you have any plans for that?
Initially, like within the next week or so, I definitely want to release the postpartum music video as its own kind of release. For the rest of the music, I definitely want to put together more music that is along the same lines and either record it as a full-length album or take it on the road, something like that. But I definitely want to get this music out there. This isn't just like for the thesis, It's music that I really believe in.
Yeah, and so do I. So get it out there. Thank you again, Matt, and best wishes. All right.
Thank you so much, Bruno. Yeah.
Matt, how are you?
I'm great.
I'm digesting the information here. I don't know where to start. I want to point out that seeing how you have developed, seeing how you have created and a narrative for your life, and the way you have come around in many areas, is just it goes to the soul of we as listener. I'm hearing it on the music. It's so provocative, everything, and at the same time, you're dealing with kind of topics that are like, it shows a certain kind of desperation in the world right now. How we don't fix all this stuff that we have. Musically, you are making some interesting takes to, like, I'm hearing the music, and you have a lot of major tonalities, like that piece with the B flat that you just start in B flat, play the F, the inversions, and you're making. I'm looking at the video, and it's just like you are creating another combinations, because you're redefining the idea of major being happy, and you are using it in a way that is totally unique. And I hear your voice through the clarinet coming into your composition. You have found a new avenue for you. I agree with Lovano what he says. I would add that you are writing a soundtrack of your life here. There seem to be a lot of knowing your journey, being right with you, right in the whole process. You just using music as therapy, and therapy for yourself, and providing it for us too. I remember Maya Angelou said, "There's no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you." That stuck to me when she say that phrase, because you have been you're a fighter, man. You're being a fighter, and please, I just want to congratulate you, and I want to tell you that you are you're touching a very unique place. Um, you an inspiration, and let's go out in the world and make the changes we need, man. This is a very powerful presentation. It needs to be heard. You have created an incredible story for your life. I believe many changes can come through from here in this combination and this point of view that you just presented musically. The final scene with your mother is heartbreaking
Yeah.
because I got to see the man that has been hiding for years.
Yeah.
And you just a sweet man, man. One of the sweetest man. You be hiding, wearing the hat like you are something, and you're just like no, you're a great actor. I gotta give you that. But in your heart, all is coming out of that clarinet, and your music is pure beauty, brother.
Thank you so
So
much.
ask for allowance to work with you.
Well, congratulations, Matt. Beautiful job.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Fantastic job. Thank to your mom for being here.
Yeah.
And for giving the inspiration also for the last beautiful piece and images that we saw. Thank to all of the faculty, Maestro Danilo, Rowan, George, all of you.
Thanks,
There are your
Mom.
parents. Nice to have you.
All right.
Nice to have you. Congratulations. We are very, very proud of Matt. You must be too. Fantastic.
You got us tearing up.